It's time for the Lowell Green Show, originating live on BlastTheRadio.com. Ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Live video available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Email Lowell at BlastTheRadio.com. The number to call or text is 613-413-2217. And now, telling it like it is, here's Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. Blue skies smiling on me. All I can see are blue skies. What a day. Isn't this a great day?
To what do we owe the serenade, though?
Oh, my gosh. Gorgeous day. Absolutely gorgeous day.
Don't tell me you're going to be in a good mood today, Lowell Green. Do not tell me.
Oh, absolutely. Gentle breeze out there. Actually, the breeze is quite nice. Wall-to-wall sunshine. It's just an absolute perfect day. Perfect day, especially if you're in the windmill or solar panel business, right?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. That could be, what could be better than a gorgeous day in June with a nice breeze and sun shining? I mean, this is just perfect for windmills and solar panels. They should be producing 100% of all the electricity that we require. Well, actually, things have really looked up, folks. If you recall, at 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I reported, and I'm sure some of you checked me out, I hope you did, at IESO.ca, that at 1 o'clock, wind and solar combined was producing 1.926%. In other words, just slightly under 2% of all the power we were using. Well, I want to tell you something, okay? It's greatly improved. In fact, that figure has almost doubled. Now, mind you, doubling from a little bit less than 2% isn't saying a hell of a lot, is it? So let me just tell you, John, it's unbelievable. This is the perfect day. If ever there was a day built for wind and solar, green energy, today is the day.
Yes, sir.
So how much? $20 billion at the very least invested. Didn't invest in hospitals or health care or getting water to native reserve. No. We're going to build windmills. We're going to have solar panels covering the land. We don't need, I understand that cattle today are all grass-fed, certainly at A&W, the Teen Burger, which I'm going to have for lunch again today, by the way. So we'll cover the grasslands with solar panels, because we don't want cows anyway, because they fart, and as you know, they contribute to global warming. So where am I going with this? Anyway, I have no idea. But at any rate, $20 billion, more or less, is what we invested, and we're still spending all kinds of more. And like in another 10 years, it'll be $50 billion that we're spending on windmills and solar panels. So how much is it producing today? Well, not a hell of a lot. As of noon today, I have to tell you, noon today, the windmills and all the solar panels in all of Ontario are pumping out, ready for this, 3.5% of our needs. We are burning a little bit over 20,000 megawatts of power, at least at 1 o'clock today, okay? And wind and solar, we're producing about 700 of the 20,000, about 3.5%. This is what we got for our $20 billion, folks. At noon today, we were consuming, as I say, more than 20,000 megawatts of electricity. Windmills were producing about 400 megawatts, solar about 300, not quite actually. In total, $20 billion worth of windmills and solar panels, 100,000 lost jobs. Back-breaking hydro costs. How do you like your hydro bills? They are delivering about 3.5% of what we need on a perfect, absolutely perfect day. Blue skies shining on me, nothing but blue skies do I see, except when I check my hydro bill. Ay. So I just want to once again thank Dalton McGuinty, George Smitherman. Remember George Smitherman? He was a real sweetheart. Remember Georgie? He's the guy, he snuck off, his cabinet didn't even know this. He snuck off to Korea and signed a $9 billion deal with Samsung, supposedly to create this nirvana, this windmill nirvana in Ontario. We were going to become world leaders in wind and solar power. Oh, yeah, 60,000 jobs. I covered all of this yesterday. But Georgie Smitherman, he was a real, well, he's the guy. He was in charge. I forget, was he health minister, whatever it was. Anyhow, people were complaining that there was so little money being funded to long-term care that patients there were only getting one diaper a day. Didn't matter how many times they pooped into the diaper, they only got one a day. That was the allotted ration, just like vaccines today, okay? You're only allowed so George was trying to defend this. Some of you will recall this. So George Smitherman, in charge of it all, he says there's absolutely no need for more than one diaper change a day. As a matter of fact, says George, I am prepared to don a diaper myself and poop in it and prove to you you only need one diaper change a day. This was the health minister of the province of Ontario that you voted for. Probably 2 or 3 times. Now, Georgie never did this. As far as I know, ever donned the diaper and pooped into it. But he said he would, to prove that you only need one diaper change a day. So the decision was, let's spend $9 billion with Samsung on a deal which they never lived up to build windmills and solar panels rather than providing 2 diapers. We're not going to provide 2 diapers. 1 diaper change is enough. You can poop as many times as you want into 1 diaper, and that's okay. We're going to give you windmill. Listen, you may not think that this is enough, but I'm going to tell you, if we have to choose between diapers and windmills, we're going to go with windmills, right? That was George Smitherman. And then, of course, there was you know what? I choke up when I say this word, Kath. Win. Remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. Oh, you tickle my fanny. So the decision was made, rather than providing 2 diapers, rather than build, as I said yesterday, $20 billion would build you about 8 state-of-the-art super hospitals. The new Civic Hospital, going to be a huge new hospital if we ever build it. It's going to cost, they say, about $2.8 billion. So $20 billion would get you 7 to 8 brand new state-of-the-art hospitals in this province. It will go a long way to alleviate a lot of problems. We might be able to throw in a few diapers as well. But rather than do that, they said, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to have windmills and solar panels because we're going to revolutionize the entire energy industry. No more fossil fuels. You're not going to be burning gas in your car. Okay. You're not going to be heating your home with gas or oil or any of that crapola. No propane. No, sir. No, ma'am. We're going to give you diapers. No, we're not going to give you diapers. But so that's what we got for our $20 billion, folks. Today, the perfect day, about 3.5% of our needs. Beautiful, eh? Beautiful. I said yesterday that those 3 birds should be in jail. The bird people of something or other. Remember when we had a prison in Burris Rapids? I met a guy once, a real nice guy, except he was a crook, right? And he'd spent some time in Burris Rapids, and he called himself proudly. A lot of crooks are proud of their profession, and he called himself the Birdman of Burris Rapids. Well, I'm going to tell you, Kathleen Wynne, George Smitherman should. You know what? It would be some sort of fate if George Smitherman was given 1 diaper a day and spent time in. Forget it. On another issue here. By the way, anybody commenting on any of this?
Yeah, we got a couple of comments.
I would think, the sad part is that I have hammered away for years on this whole energy crisis. I was one of the first, myself and Rob Snow, about almost the only people that ever spent any time examining what this is doing and the cost. Because most people just didn't care. I guess we're so well off that, doubling or tripling the cost of hydro, driving out 100,000 jobs, not that important. Okay. On another issue, I'm having a little trouble figuring this one out. Normally, I think that Jim Watson's done a pretty good job. I've complained about a number of things, but I'm having a little difficulty figuring this out. Jim Watson is complaining that Ottawa is, quote, being shortchanged on vaccines. And he's written Doug Ford down there in Toronto demanding another 40,000 doses for Ottawa. Wait a minute. Hold it. I'm having a little difficulty here, Mayor Watson. It seems to me that you, along with almost every other political and medical official and expert in this province, only about 3 weeks ago were demanding that instead of apportioning vaccine doses on the basis of age and population, that vaccines should go to where they are needed the most, the hot spots. Remember that? I mean, the TV news was just filled with all of these medical experts, including Dr. Tam and others, Dr. William, all of them saying the vaccine should go to the hot spots. That was the big catchphrase, go to the hot spots. Well, the hot spots at the time, and to a degree still, Toronto and Peel, and a couple of others. So they sent a disproportionate amount of vaccines, and it's worked. As you know, the count in the province is way, way down. What, about 500? At about this time last month, it was about 4,800. Now it's well under 1,000, under 700 actually.
Yep.
So now here's the problem. So Doug Ford does what everybody says you should do, and with common sense, send it to the hot spots, send it where the need is the greatest. So he does this, which means that Ottawa, not being a hotspot, doesn't get as many on a per capita basis as, let's say, Peel or Toronto. Oh, this is terrible, 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 says the mayor. Wait a minute. This is what you asked him to do. You see, the only explanation I can think is this. Jim Watson, last time I checked, is a Liberal. In fact, he was a Liberal cabinet minister when they decided to spend $20 billion on windmills rather than on diapers. So Doug Ford, last time I checked, is a Conservative. So could it be that this has got nothing to do with medicine or vaccines, but strictly political, a chance for a Liberal to make a Conservative look bad? Doug Ford did what you said to do, and what almost everybody else with a brain said, send the vaccines to the hot spots. You remember that? Am I the only one who remembers that? The hot spots. Well, very clearly. What's the latest figures for Ottawa? I mean, wasn't the mayor just boasting about how great we're doing here with vaccines?
He put out a release today congratulating Ottawa and bragging that now 70% of all adults in Ottawa have their first dose. Yay us! Aren't we doing great? And by the way, Ottawa Public Health released today 20 new cases in the city. That's it, 20.
But still, the good old mayor, the good old Liberal, he gets political points. Once again, pointing out Doug Ford's failure here. You're not sending us enough here, and we're doing really, really well. On the one hand, I'm going to take the credit for this, says the mayor, but you didn't send us enough. No, because you told them to send the vaccines where they were needed the most. Ay. It's enough to drive you crazy. You ever feel like you're going crazy, John?
Almost every day.
I wish you were.
I'm in therapy for a reason. I'm not even joking.
We should, you know what? The entire nation should be in therapy.
I highly recommend it. It's done me very well.
Listen, we are short. If we are short vaccines in Ottawa, there are only two reasons. Okay, number one, we don't have enough vaccines in the country. There is still a shortage of vaccines. We've got to give about 30 million people another shot, second shot. We still have less than 10% of the population who've had two shots. So we need another 30 million vaccines, okay? And we don't have enough. They talk about, we're sending another 2 million. Yeah, but we need 30 million. So number one, we still don't have enough vaccines. They are being rationed. And number two, Doug Ford sent them to where everybody said you should send them, the hot spots. Sacre bleu black, the bing bong bats. Okay, Jace is back again for another dose of medicine. What's on your mind, Jace?
Oh, the night was going to go down nice and easy today. Well,
you're a bear for punishment, sir. You're a bear for punishment.
No, for this windmill thing, it gets worse because when these windmill blades have to be decommissioned, like it's not like they can send them to a recycling facility. They bury them in the ground. Yep.
They don't compost very well.
No. It's insane. Now, here's one for you.
Yeah.
And I agree with you about Jim Watson, and it's quite obvious it's exactly what he's doing. But my question is, like, how do we get people to understand common sense? Like the Smitherman thing. Like, can we send them diapers? It's kind of after the fact. You know what I mean? But like,
I do.
every time Doug Ford does something right, and the previous Conservative government did something right, they get lambasted by the Liberals, and we get held to, it seems like, a much higher standard. Whereas when Justin Trudeau is in power, he can do blackface and it's okay. He can get through the SNC Lavalin thing and it's okay. He can lie and cheat and do whatever he wants and it's okay because he's got cool socks. But the moment the Conservatives say one single word out of place, they get absolutely pummeled. And I don't understand.
You know what?
Why.
I think that most people with a brain, which has got to be 5% of the population. I'm just joking, but you know, it's not just Ontario.
Like the windmills.
But I have to laugh. Here is poor old Jason Kenney. He's another very strong conservative. He's in big trouble. Why? Well, he had an office party upstairs, someplace in some building on the top. He guarantees that they drank budget wine and they followed all safety protocol. But somehow or other, this is the big deal. This is the big deal, okay? It doesn't matter all of the people who are dying and sick. Doesn't matter the economy is in the pits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What really matters is there is Jason Kenney up on a rooftop someplace enjoying wine. This is the big freaking story. Why? Because he's a conservative. That's why. You're absolutely right. Okay, wait a minute, Jace. You got me worried, man. You and I are agreeing on something here.
No. Whoa. I am a conservative. What? I was never a liberal. I didn't vote for him. I didn't run for him. I didn't do anything. I just believe in common sense, my friend.
Thank you for the call, Jace. I can't believe it. There's something wrong when Jace and I agree on something.
That's twice this month, by the way, Lowell.
Twice this month we've agreed, right?
Yeah. I am keeping a record, by the way.
Got any? Okay, I want to talk about Shields for a minute. As I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned a couple of times, a big sale underway right now at Shields, SCHEELS.ca. Yes, the name, a couple of people tried to correct me. It's Shield Furniture and Appliances. But in the website, which is where you need to go, it is Shields, SCHEELS, .ca. Tremendous sale right now, particularly on Frigidaire. Only lasts a few more days. And in fact, there's good sales all throughout. If you go to the website, you will see. And one of the big, I'm still reading people in here. In fact, there's an article in Maclean's magazine about people trying to buy appliances and having these long waits because they're not in stock. Well, I don't understand this. At Shields up there in Pakenham, they have an entire huge warehouse filled with all the latest appliances. Yes, including the air fryers, et cetera, just waiting to be delivered. They were smart enough. They've been at this game since 1947, so they know what they're doing. Okay, so long ago they ordered all kind, and they've got it there. So if you order, chances 99% sure. If you order something tomorrow from Shields in the way of appliance, major or small or whatever, it'll be in your home next 2 or 3 days at the most. By the way, I think they still need a driver. Shields.ca. Check it out, folks. A great website, great sales, great people. Shields.ca. Guy is on the phone. Guy, go ahead, please, sir.
Actually, this is the Harry Meckenbaum from the CRTC. We've just used our automated tools to flag your show under the pending Bill C-10 because we find that you are disparaging the Liberals, Mr. Green, and we'd like to talk to you about your podcast and the content of that podcast. And we'd just like to put you on notice that the upcoming bureaucracy that will be installed will be monitoring programs like yourself, since debate has now been shut down and the Liberals have a blank check on our free speech.
You know, you joke about it, but the portrait you are painting is probably fairly accurate. Let me just say this, and I have something that I had prepared to say here. If, in fact, I am going to fall once again under the thumb of the CRTC, I will no longer continue to do this show. Okay, I'll tell you right now. And that's not a threat. It's just I was under the thumb of the CRTC for more than 60 years. I couldn't say what I wanted to say in many cases. In some cases, I said things that I had to apologize for. It said which most of them I should not have had. So if this bill passes and the CRTC takes over, which apparently they say they will, and the CRTC, you're quite right, Guy, has promised that they will control, that they will censor every single thing that is said in social media, on Blast the Radio, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, etc., etc. The CRTC, the government's hand, and don't forget, the CRTC is a liberal branch, okay? It is just a branch of the Liberal Party. That's what's always really bothered me. It's not apolitical. The CRTC is appointed by the Liberal government. They are all liberals, and they very clearly, they're not going to allow people like you or I, Guy, to say some of the things that we are saying now. And by the way, I also have to mention this. I find it ironic and kind of sad in a way that the Liberals joined with the Separatist Party of Canada to push this thing through. To push this thing through.
The Bloc has blood on their hands too.
It's, we haven't, they did something on Monday that has not been done in this country for 21 years. And that is shut off debate in committee. Haven't done this in 21 years. They shut off debate so that this thing, which is very undemocratic, will be rammed through. This is unbelievable. This is undemocratic. And as far as free speech, I'm going to tell you right now, if the CRTC is in control or has any control whatsoever over any program, that is not free speech. Free speech is free speech. Free speech under the dictates of the CRTC is not free speech. The day the CRTC takes over control of the social media in this country is the day that free speech died. God bless free speech. Thank you, Guy. Pardon me. And you should, folks, you need to check out what happened here. It's been 21 years since a Canadian federal government used so-called time allotment to stop debate on a bill at the committee stage. 21 years ago, it was a Liberal government that used it to stop debate on the Canadian Elections Act. 2 days ago, this past Monday, it was the Liberals who used this seldom used undemocratic trick to shut down debate on Bill C-10. This bill will likely shut me down and censor what you have to. I know you don't give a sweet flying fox fart about me, but you may care about your own right to say what you want on Facebook. This bill, when it passes, and apparently it will, because the separatists, the government, the political party that wants to destroy Canada has joined with the Liberals to pass one of the most undemocratic, most dangerous bills that any government has ever passed in this country. Folks, this is the end of free speech. And without free speech, I don't see how you can have a free and democratic country. You have to have free speech. With the CRTC telling me and you what we can say, do, and show is not free speech. Text coming in. Yes, John.
Yeah, and just to what you were saying, because I know there's a lot of people who like to criticize what you say. There's a lot of people who like to criticize what I say. Guess what? You won't be able to do that under C-10. You will not be allowed to hop on the internet and criticize.
Certainly not the Liberal Party.
No. All right, here we go. Some of the stuff rolling in on Facebook, on Twitch, and by text. Glenn says $20 billion investment. We're talking, of course, wind and solar. He says, great return on investment, 3.5%. Such financial leadership, not. Robert says, diapers and politicians should be changed for the same reason. Peter says, Georgie was the genius behind the government of McGuinty, former premier, minister of health, a political animal, actually. Met the guy a few times. I think he invested big time in the pot factory in Winchester. Angela says, if we had to treat children like that, it would be child abuse, and they would be taken into care, and the adult would be charged with neglect. So why do they think it's okay for the elderly to be treated in such a way? Of course, we're kind of catching up on some of the earlier comments that you made, Lowell. Carrie says, that is what he said, referring to Jim Watson. We are not a hotspot. Lisa, Ottawa Public Health is a mess. My doctor even said so, or OPH, maybe Ontario Public Health. I apologize, Lisa. Peter says, hotspots, number one, where you direct them first. Surprised they don't have Jim Watson as the next Governor General of Canada. An email from Rob in Carlton Place to Lowell at blasttheradio.com. Rob says, according to the Globe and Mail, Canada gets a gold medal for vaccines. How do you get a gold medal when you show up for the games 5 months late? Trudeau gets a lump of coal from me. Kim says, a lot of people do not understand the difference between federal and provincial, and the ones that do slam each other's team. But the liberal stuff does not stick ever. Craig says, of course, it isn't free speech. It's communism, referring to Bill C-10. And Peter says, I'll not be saying stuff either. Bloc and NDP, all the socialists along with the Trudeau Party of Canada. CRTC filled with so many Trudeau Party former cell phone execs. No wonder why cell phone plans are so high. Some of the comments rolling in for you.
You know, this, as I say, I operated, earned my living, and had some accomplishments. More than 60 years in radio in Ottawa and Toronto. And I was under the control, essentially, of the CRTC the entire time. I did not have free speech. It was constant. You have no idea what it's like to want to say something and try to phrase it in such a way that you're not going to offend anybody. It got particularly serious in the last 4 or 5 years, when almost anything you said about any minority, if you were to criticize high crime areas, there would be complaints pouring in. You got to understand that if you're going to take a political position, particularly a conservative position, you have large numbers of people who will do everything. I'm talking about ordinary people to get you off the air. They will petition, boycott your sponsors. They will make threats, etc. I mean, I know this sounds outrageous, but it's true. I can tell you, in 60 years, there are a lot of nasty people out there, and a lot of people who just don't think that I should have the right, or anybody should have the right, to go on and criticize the government. People just actually believe that. But so I had to always, particularly as they say, the last 4 or 5 years, be really careful what I said. And as a consequence, some of the things that should have been said could not be said. I would be kicked off the air. And the problem is that while the pressure may not have been entirely on me, it was on the station. And particularly, and the larger the station, the more other stations that your station bought, in my case, Bell Media, the wider their handprint, then the more pressure they were under. So it got to a point, I'm serious, I'm telling you folks, where we're almost afraid to say anything. It's one of the reasons why I shut it down early. And if that same thing happens with so-called free speech on social media, goodbye. Goodbye, not just to me. Goodbye to free speech. Free speech is not a speech that the government has the right to censor. You know, one of the questions that when people, I still hear people say, well, you shouldn't be allowed to say this, shouldn't be allowed to say that. You know, you can't say that about minorities, et cetera, et cetera. I am even opposed to legislation concerning hate speech. My feeling is you should be allowed to say whatever you want, as long as, if somebody says something hateful, I am allowed to respond to it. But I lost that debate long ago, obviously. But the reach of this continues to expand. Folks, do everything you can. C-10 is one of the most, I repeat, C-10, Bill C-10, one of the most dangerous, undemocratic bills ever passed. The fact that even the NDP won't support it, the Green Party won't support it, apparently. Only the separatists. Imagine that. The government of Canada aligns with the political party that wants to destroy Canada to push through one of the most undemocratic bills we have ever seen in this country. Unbelievable. John, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I never did talk radio, obviously. I was on the music side of things. But even then, just talking between songs for a couple of seconds, the number of times I was raked over the coals. You can't say this. You can't say that. You can't have an opinion about this. You can't have an opinion about that. And it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse into the later years. I can't imagine.
Well, look what happened to, oh my God, my mind has gone blank here. Hockey.
Don Cherry.
Don Cherry. Look what happened to Don Cherry.
Yep.
He's urging people to buy poppies, and he says, you people, and that cost him his job. He's an international figure. He said, and he used 2 words, you people, that was the end of him. That's just the kind of example, the kind of pressure that you operate under when the government is in control, when the government has the right, because the government just puts pressure on the employer. Centennial Glass. Here is a great company, folks. They have been in business for a long, long time. Very, very reputable firm. A lot of people, if you go to the Centennial Glass website, you'll see a lot of rave reviews. They're very good at what they do. Their prices are very, very reasonable. It's a large company, there's no question, but they're strictly local. You deal with Centennial Glass. You're not dealing with farmed out workers and so forth. These are employees. Whether it's glass, furniture of any kind, custom-made glass furniture, windows, doors, patios, screens, whatever it is, emergency services, nobody beats Centennial Glass. They have supported me right along, and I'm going to tell you, they've had a lot of flack for it. Please, if you can, support Centennial Glass. Thank you. More texts, yes, coming in, John.
Just a few to wrap things up. Anna, who I know is from the Philippines, says regarding Bill C-10, I came from a country that was under dictatorship for 21 years. Chrissy says, I don't understand how they're going to regulate this. Seriously, is this a job for someone?
Wait a minute. Before you go further, there's a very interesting column in the Sun today about this. Very clearly, I mean, the CRTC has already said that they're going to essentially regulate everything. This will require a huge bureaucracy. So we're looking, among other things, as another huge government bureaucracy. People who essentially will listen to all of the broadcasts, read what you're writing and so forth on Facebook, and decide whether they're going to censor it or not. A huge bureaucracy.
I mean, it's no different. It's no different now. I mean, if you post a song, in the background of a video, it gets flagged. It's all automated bots, and they just set up keywords and phrases that they look for, and there it is. They take it down, and it's shoot now and apologize later. That's how they'll run it.
Well, if it can cost Don Cherry his job, one of the most recognized figures in all of Canada, if it cost him his job because he used two words, you people. You know what can happen to you you're probably not going to lose your job, but you'll lose your right to have your free speech. More texts coming in. Yes, John. We're almost out of time.
Yeah, I know. Lisa says, it's mind-boggling why the Bloc supports this. Do they really understand what this bill is all about? I thought their interests were all about Quebec. Why would they care about shutting down free speech so much? Kim says, must watch how the free speech monitoring goes. It will have a huge liberal slant. If it's a liberal view, it will be okay. If not, it will be labeled hate speech. Joshua says free speech is not free. It's part of a democracy that people bled and died for. And Canadians are basically saying, take my rights, please. Peter says, Canadians are thankful for the job you did all those years, Lowell. And a couple of texts rolling in here to finish things off. Barry says, hydro can power most of the U.S. East Coast with James Bay, but Ontario Liberals couldn't get kickbacks from the new dams being built like the amount they have received through foreign companies. Wonder how much Dalton McGuinty has in a Swiss bank account. And one more text coming in here. It says, disgraceful track record on senior care by previous Ontario governments. Doug Ford should fix this once and for all. It will be a great legacy and help Conservatives long term, says Mort.
Thank you. Thank you all. We will be back.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live, weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.